This week's Parsha is Parshat Bahal, and this week's Parsha we have speaks about Shemitah, speaks about Yovel, and I wanted to focus on Yovel for this shiur. Yovel, basic background of Yovel is that in Shemitah, we'll worry about first we'll bring Shemitah, and then we'll bring Yovel. Shemitah is that we have a 7-year period. First 6 years you work the land that you work for, all the plants, for all these things, that the fields, and on the 7th year, like Shabbat, you let it rest. You don't work the field. You just let it stay and let it rest for what it usually does. So the same way we have Shabbat for the week, we also have Shabbat for the years. With every single week we have Shabbat, so every single 7 years we have Shabbat for the years, for the field. So for the 7th year you rest, you have the field rest. Now in Yovel is basically a upgrade. Not every 7 years, it's 7 times 7. So you do 7 times 7, which is going to be 49, and on the 50th you rest. The 50th you don't do the work again on the field, and there's a lot of other things. Slaves go free. You have to bring the land that you bought from someone back to the person. The land goes back to the original owner, to the original shevet, the original tribe. So whenever someone wants to sell a person land, he wants to sell someone his land, a land that to work the field, meaning the guy that owns the land, he's not a farmer, he's not anything. He wants to sell it to a farmer to use. So he says, here's the land, and the guy buys it. But the thing is, he doesn't buy it. He doesn't buy it permanently. He, so to speak, rents it. For, let's say, if he does it in the first year of Yovel just passed last year, okay, he buys it for 50 years. If he buys it in the 15th year of Shemitah, he has 45 years left. The 35 years left. 50 years. 50 years totally. So whenever the 50 years comes, it has to go back. So basically he's renting it. So the Torah comes and says in Parshat Bahal, this is Perek Chaf He Pasuk Tetvav. This is Leviticus 25, verse chapter 25, verse 15. So it says, "B'mispar shanim achar Yovel tikne me'et amitecha b'mispar shnei tvuot yimkor lach lefi rov hashanim תרבה מקנתו ולפי מאות השנים תמעיט מקנתו כי מספר תבואות הוא מוכר לך." So he's basically the pasuk, Hashem is telling us, the Torah is telling us, that you sell the land according to how many years are left. If there are, let's say if you're selling for $1,000 a year, so if there are 50 years left, you sell it for 50,000. If there's 1 year left, you sell it for 1,000. There's 35 years left, you sell it for 35,000. You sell it for however much left time you have. That's what it's bringing up. There's a lot of mussar that you can learn of it. There's a lot of mussar, but I'm going to focus specifically. There's a lot of mussar that you can learn about that Yovel, you're buying a certain land, you're not buying it forever, you're buying for a certain amount. Also, you can learn that at this life, you don't have things forever, you have it for a certain amount of time, and the more older you get, the less worth it becomes. So that's the mussar by itself. Now, I'm going to focus on a different mussar, so just for that to know. Last week, in Parshat Emor, spoke about about a certain. We spoke about mum in a korban. If an animal has a blemish and you want to bring it to Hashem, you want to give a korban to Hashem, you want to say to Hashem, thank you. So we said, and I'll say it in the pasuk. Basically, Hashem is telling Moshe to tell Bnei Israel that anytime they want to bring a free will offering, they want to bring it out of thanks, or they vow to bring it, so they're bringing it out of their own thing. They're not obligated in some law of the Torah. They themselves obligated themselves. So Hashem says, "Le'otzonechem tamim zachar b'bakar b'kivasim u'va'izim." He says, if you want it to be good for you, you want it to be le'otzonechem, favorable for you, then I want the animal to be tamim, to be complete, to be a complete animal, that it shouldn't have some type of blemish in it. Zachar, that it should be a male. Babakal, b'kevasim, uva'izim, that it should be oxen, should be some type of cattle, should be sheep, and should be goat, whichever one. And it continues, and it says, Kol asher bo mum lo takrivu, ki lo leratzon yeh lechem. He says, anything that has a blemish, anything that has a mum, I do not want you to bring it to me. I don't want you to bring it as a korban. Don't bring it. So, last week I said, in the name of Rav Nisim again, he explained that this means whenever Hashem asks you to do something right now, whenever you come over to do something for Hashem, because He told you to do something, He says, whenever you do it complete. Do it. Hashem tells you, I want an animal. You want to bring an animal to me? No problem. Bring it complete. I want a complete one. I don't want one that's halfway, good halfway not. Something that's, a damaged animal that has, some type of hole in his stomach. He's going to die in a little while. I want something that's going to last, something that's a complete animal. So Ravi again explained that this means that whenever you come to do something, do it with completeness. Whenever Hashem tells you to do something, you do it completely. And if you want, look at the shiur. It speaks about, I spoke about it last week in Parshat Emor. You can see it over there in length. So basically, I spoke about how if you're going to do something, do it with a full heart. So sometimes when people are going to hear this, they say automatically, okay, fine. So if I'm not going to do it with full heart, or if I can't, or if something happens, probably I shouldn't do it at all. Especially because since we brought that it could be an averah if you do it incorrectly, if you do it not completely. However, Rav Ephraim Kachlon, Sheikh, he brings in his Sefer Hasicha Shvuit in Parashat Bahar, this week's Parsha, and he brings how sometimes someone has a certain Yetzer Hara, they have the Yetzer Hara to have things incomplete. Sometimes they actually want to do it. And the Yetzer Hara comes in a different way. That you want to do something, but then after a while you start thinking. The Yetzer Hara starts coming to you. What does he bring to you? He brings to you, this is called the Yetzer Hara of Shlemut. Yetzer Hara shel Shlemut. That you want everything to be perfect. You want it to be, if it's not perfect, it's nothing. But this is the Yetzer Hara. He comes over to you and he says, listen, if it's not going to be perfect, don't do it at all. Don't do it. Now, is that the way to go? That I need to do every single thing perfectly. If I don't do it perfectly, I don't do it at all. Now, Rav Ephraim Kachlon is trying to tell you right now that this is over here, this is simply Yetzer Hara. This is not Yetzer Hara Tov. Don't think that every mitzvah you have to do it complete. Meaning sometimes you're not going to be able to, you can't, or whatever it is, even though you have an obligation. Let's say you have to do something, but you say, you know what? I don't think I could do it b'shleimut, in completely, so I'm not going to do it at all. You have a mitzvah, you have an obligation to do something. No, I'm not going to do it at all because I know I'm not going to be able to do it completely. So, this is Yetzer Hara. So he actually brings a proof in Sefer Chovot HaLevavot. Chovot HaLevavot is Rabbeinu Bechaye. He wrote a mussar sefer, which basically speaks. It's in the meaning of the word Chovot HaLevavot, meaning the duties of the heart. In his introduction, he brings, and he was thinking about if to write the book, how to write it, all these type of things, and he was explaining about his process of writing it. He goes, I'm going to read the English. It had the Hebrew. I'm going to read it in the English translation to save time. So he was explaining how whenever he was writing the book, he started thinking. A thought came to his mind. And he realized that a man like myself was unworthy of authoring such a work. I thought my powers too limited to systemize the material as it should be done, the subject being too difficult for me, my knowledge too limited, and my mind too weak to grasp the ideas. Furthermore, I do not possess the elegant style in Arabic in which the book would have to be written, as is the language of which is best understood by the majority of my contemporaries. I fear that I would be undertaking a task which would succeed only in exposing my own shortcomings, and that I would be exceeding the bounds of discretion. Therefore, I resolved to drop my plans and call off my decision. So what Rabbeinu Bechaye right now is saying in his Hakdama, he's saying that this book, that every person, every Jew that's in the world of Torah knows this book. Tell them Chovot HaLevavot, they're going to tell you, of course, maybe they read it, maybe they didn't read it, but whatever. They know the book. They know about the book. Rabbeinu Bechaye is a well-known Chacham from back in the day, well-known, very big tzaddik. So he was saying that this book, I was started to think, maybe I'm not good enough. Maybe I'm going to release it, and the people, it's just going to show that I don't know anything. Maybe I'm a little bit, something wrong with me. People gonna, like, if someone might have a paper or something, or someone wants to do a shiur, for example, he's gonna send the shiur, he's gonna send the paper. Someone's gonna read it, he's gonna say, "Who is this guy? This guy doesn't know anything." So automatically, this guy starts thinking, you know what? Maybe I shouldn't send the shiur. Maybe I shouldn't say this paper. Maybe I shouldn't do the shiur. This is all Yetzer Hara trying to tell you, don't do it. Why? Because he knows something is going to come out of it. Something good is going to come out of it. So, automatically the Yetzer Hara started coming to Rabbeinu Bechaye, and it started saying, you're not good enough. You have no idea what you're talking about. He, as much as humble he was, the Yetzer Hara started taking hold of him and saying, not only something privately to him, he started saying, you're making a book right now. To do what? To help people. He says, no, you're not good enough. Don't release this book. Forget helping people. You're only going to make a fool out of yourself. So what did he say? He actually said, I actually failed. I stopped writing the book. I made a decision to stop writing the book. Continues, he says, after resolving not to assume this heavy burden, but to give up the project, I began to suspect that I have taken the easy way out. That I have been lazy, looking for peace and quiet. I feared that what had motivated the cancellation of the project had been the desire for self-gratification, which had driven me to seek ease and comfort, to opt for inactivity and sit idly by. I knew that quite a few intellectual achievements had been prevented by fears, and that many failings were the result of self-doubt. So he's saying that after a while, I started thinking. I said, was this decision that I made to stop the book, was it decision that was something that I should have done? was it the best thing for me? Was it the best thing for the people? Or did I just decide, you know what, it's not, I want to take the easy way out. I'm scared. Maybe I'm going to look like a fool. Maybe it's going to be bad. Like, it's not going to be of any substance. It's going to be whatever. Maybe I just chose, you know what, I don't want the headache. I don't want this. I don't want that. I don't know. Maybe I'm not good enough. So, you know what, I'll just sit in the corner, act like I'm not here, and that's it. Or let's say if someone has, for example, let's say if someone has a certain sure, a certain lecture he wants to give to someone. Someone comes over to ask and asks him. He says, "You want to be able to give some type of lecture, some type of shiur for the people?" And he says, "No, I'm sorry. I don't know. I don't this." Even though he has in his mind, he has something that's very good. But he says, "I don't know. Maybe I'm not good enough. Maybe this. Maybe that." So he has to think. He has to ask himself. He says, is this something that I'm saying no to, something just to make me feel better, or is it be'emet something that is not good? It's be'emet something that I don't know what I'm talking about. That there's people better than me. I'm gonna stay quiet. So he says, I think I chose the easy way out. I chose just to be lazy and be easy on myself. But he said also that he knows that many times people were scared of something. They had a very big, very, very big opportunity to do something, and they decided, you know what, I'm scared, I'm not going to do it. And then they didn't do it, and then we lost a very big thing. If only they did it, we would have something very big. They would have something big. Either they had a very big business transaction that they could have made a lot of money, but they were scared. Maybe this, maybe that. Small things that honestly didn't really care about, didn't really make it so much of a difference. And then they decided not to do it. They could have made a lot of money. They could have become something big. But they decided not to do it. So he said, I know many times this type of things happen because people are simply scared. Maybe it's not going to work. So he continues. He says, I remember the saying, part of caution is not to be too cautious. Which in Hebrew it says, Mina hazihirut shelo tarbe liyizaher. Meaning, be cautious, just don't be too cautious. Be careful, just don't be too careful. You know, you could walk on the road, just don't, it doesn't mean you're going to get hit by a car. You could do things, but you have to be careful. Does not mean you have to be too careful that you can't even move. You have to stay at one spot. I'm never going to move. Why? Because maybe some type of, I'm going to do some type of avera. Or on Shabbat, I don't know what's Chilul Shabbat. Okay, learn, no problem. Learn. Be careful, learn. You're worried? Take the book, learn. Learn. Don't just stand in one space, say, you know what, I'm going to, just be very careful. As it says, be careful. Have zihut. Be careful. I'm going to be careful, I'm not going to move. I'm not going to do anything. My whole life, I'm going to live my bed. I'm going to be born on my bed, die on my bed. My whole time on my bed, never moving. He says, this is a problem. You have to be careful, not too careful. So he says, I remember the saying, part of caution is not to be too cautious. I told myself that if everyone who intended to perform some good act or to teach what is right and virtuous kept silent and stood still until he felt perfectly qualified, not a single word would have been spoken by any man since the prophets, whom God had chosen as his messengers and strengthened with his support. If everyone who wanted to perfect himself with all the best qualities was unable to attain all of them, to attain them all, were then to forsake those qualities which he had managed to attain, all men would be empty of virtue and deceitful, and deficient in what is admirable. We would all be racing after false hopes. The paths of virtue would be desolate, and dwelling places of kindness and of kindness deserted. So he's saying that if everybody was way too careful, no one would ever speak anything. No one would ever say anything. People that had to teach people, be careful with this, do this. Hashem says to do something, you have to do it. Hashem says not to do something, you have to stop doing it. If everybody was scared of all these type of things, no one would say anything since the prophets, because the prophets were told directly from God, I want you to go and tell people this. Even sometimes then, they were still scared. They were still worried. Well, I don't know what they're gonna say. I don't know what this. I don't know that. Yonah left. Even Yirmiyahu, Jeremiah was scared. He said, "No, please pick someone else." Because he was worried. Because the prophet, what is a prophet? A prophet is to tell people, to rebuke people. Go back to the way of God. Hashem says to do something. You're doing something wrong. So for them, God told them, okay, they have a stamp from God. I want you to do this. Okay. For us, we don't have a stamp. We don't have anything. So we're just gonna. No, Hashem told me not to do it. Who says? Hashem told you not, but He didn't tell you not. He didn't tell you don't do it. He didn't tell you to do it, but He didn't tell you don't do it. Torah says to do it. You have to be careful with your words, as it says in the Pirkei Avot. Chachamim tizaharu b'divrechem. The sages, you have to be careful with the words that come out of that you speak. But doesn't mean you stay quiet. Because if people are doing something wrong, you have to tell them. Or people they don't know anything, you have to tell them, you have to speak to them. So everybody's just going to speak quietly, no one's going to know anything, no one's going to do anything. There's not going to be any kindness, there's not going to be anything. No one's going to be wealthy. Why? Because everybody's going to be scared. Maybe if I'm going to take this risk of this investment, maybe I'm going to lose out. So he says sometimes you have to be cautious, but not too cautious. You have to know when to do it. So Baruch Hashem, in the end, he decided, you know what? I took the easy way out. I have to not listen to the Yetzer Hara and do it. So he's coming and he's saying how sometimes you want to be perfect, you want to have something perfect, but it doesn't work like that. In the end, sometimes you have to make peace and you have to do it as best as you can, but you just do it. Something's not going to be perfect. So Rav Ephraim Kachman brings in his Sefer and he speaks about that one time he spoke to a very big Talmid Chacham. And the Talmid Chacham is explaining to him, and he says, one time, he says, before I used to learn a lot of Shas, be in very depth, meaning he used to learn in depth, not doing a lot of dapim, a lot of pages of Gemara, learning, widespread. He stuck to a few pages, learned deep, the halacha, the different poskim, the rishonim, acharonim, all these type of things, learn depth. Different mifarshim about what is it talking about, different commentaries of what it's talking about, different understandings of what it's talking about. He used to be in very deep. Eventually, in his mind, it came to him, and he says, the Yetzer Hara came to him, and he says, wait a second, if I continue like this, what's going to happen for me? I'm never going to remember the Shas like this. I'm never going to remember the whole Gemara, the whole Talmud. He says, maybe I'm not even going to finish it. Maybe I'm not even going to get to the end. Maybe I'm gonna be only in this small part, but there's a whole entire sea to cover. Maybe I'm never gonna finish anything. So what did he do? The Yetzer Hara got a hold of him. And what did he do? He stopped. And then after a little while, he says that after a little while, I started reading Chovot Levavot. And I saw this part that it spoke about how sometimes you want to finish something bishlemut, complete, and you don't have that chance. You don't have that ability. So automatically he understood that he did the wrong choice, and he went and he continued to learn Shas. Regardless, I'm going to finish it, I'm going to get the whole thing. How it says in Pirkei Avot, I remember the English, I forgot the Hebrew, that it says it's not up to you to finish it, but it's not up to you. You have no choice, you have no ability to say, you know what, it's too much for me, I'm not going to do it. Meaning, do small bit. You could do something small, take a book, take a sefer, start, learn something. Doesn't mean you have to finish the whole entire thing. You have no obligation to finish everything. You have no ability, you have no right to say, I'm not going to do anything then. So another story is that one time a Rav, a Rosh Yeshiva, was giving a shiur, giving a powerful shiur, and he says, Mehmet, whenever you learn, you have to learn complete. You have to learn the whole thing. Whenever you pray, you have to complete completely. If you're not going to learn complete, you're not going to pray complete, don't pray at all. Tell them, do not pray at all. Why? Because, this is a joke to you, don't pray at all. Why? Because you have to pray completely. And do everything complete. So, here he said this. After many, many years, this Rosh Yeshiva was walking on the street and he saw one of his students, one of his old students from back in the day. He's looking at him and he sees he's not religious anymore. He says, "Wow, what happened?" He says, "How are you? How's everything? What, are you okay?" He says, "What happened to you?" So the student starts explaining. He says, "Kod Harav, that shiur that you told me hit my heart. And I didn't just leave automatically. I didn't just say, you know what, it's too hard for me, forget it. I tried complete. I tried everything. I tried to pray complete. But then after a while, I started falling a little down. And I said, no, I have to do complete. I went, try to go back up. But after a while, I saw that I wasn't doing complete. I said, wait. My Rav told me, if I don't do it complete, don't do it at all. So I stopped doing this. And then I stopped doing this. And then I stopped doing this. And then in the end, I didn't do anything. And I just totally threw everything. So what was this Rav missing? So Rav missing a little bit of Chovot Levavot, saying, okay, complete. But if you can't do it complete, don't throw everything away. Do whatever you can. Sometimes, even Be'emet, you could actually even find this in the Gemara, Masechet Eruvin. This again, Rav Ephraim Kachlon brings in his Sefer. It speaks about, this is Masechet Eruvin, Daf Nun Daled Amud Aleph. This is 54, page A, which it speaks about. It says, Amar le Shmuel le Rav Yehuda. Shmuel said to Rabbi Yehuda, Shinina chatuf ve'echol chatuf ve'ishte. Shinina chatuf ve'echol chatuf ve'echol chatuf ve'ishte. Meaning, sharp one, grab and eat, grab and drink. Why? De alma de azlinan mine, because the world from which we must eventually depart, kihilula dame, it's like a wedding celebration, meaning that it's a very short period, it doesn't last long. So he's saying, every opportunity you have, take it and eat. Every food you have, you see in a wedding hall. In the wedding, you see food, you take it and you eat it. You don't wait until you start talking to people and this and that, and in the end you grab. Why? Because eventually everything is going to go away. You're never going to have any chance to eat anything. You're going to go to the wedding hall and you're going to wait. And there are a lot of people over there. There's a lot of food. But if you wait, you're not going to be smart about it. You're going to go home hungry. You're not going to eat anything. You have to go, you have to take, and you have to grab. So the same thing in this world. That any single time you have to take and you have to grab and eat. Eat what? Eat Torah. Eat any type of thing, any type of mitzvah. You do it even if you have the smallest chance. You have 5 minutes, take a sefer, take anything, take an art scroll, take any type of Dvar Torah, learn it fast. You have 5 minutes, learn it. You want to be chozel, you want to review what you learned, take it fast, 5 minutes, learn. So, this is what Shmuel said to Rabbi Yehuda. He says, Meforash in the Gemara, Masechet Eruvin. One time, Rabbi Ephraim Kachlon brings a story that one time this actually happened to him, though, that he was with someone, he was sitting next to someone, and this person, he came late. He thought that the world revolves around him, so he came late. And finally he came. He asked the waitress, this is the waiter, he says, please give me the first course. Go, can I get the first course? She says, I'm sorry, sir, we're already serving the second course. So he said, okay, fine, go inside the kitchen, give me the first course. So, okay, fine. We go inside the thing, going. She comes back 10 minutes later. I'm sorry, sir, there's no first course. We're finished. She said, okay, fine, no problem, what can we do? Bring me the second course. They already finished the second course. Go bring me the second course. A few minutes later, she comes back. I'm sorry, sir, there's no second course. So, okay, fine. Can you at least bring me some dessert? Give me some dessert, something. Goes back. Sorry, sir, there's no dessert also. Meaning the guy waited. I want the first one. Where have the second one? Have the second one. Have whatever is next. You already finished. You already missed the first one. Have the second one now. But the guy wanted. I wanted the complete meal. The first course, second course, dinner, the whole thing. The dessert. I want the whole thing. But he was not willing to accept, you know what, fine, I missed the first one, let me get the second one. He was willing to wait 10 minutes until the second one left and finished, and for them to come and say, we don't have any more Rishon, we don't have the first one anymore, so he said, second one, no second one. Dessert, something, nothing, that's it, you're done. He had nothing to eat. The Rav Ephraim Kachlon was saying, don't be like this guy, if you have something, take it now. Take any moment, any time, anything you have. 5 minutes, take it. So, this could also be, sometimes people are in yeshiva and they're learning. They're learning bi'iyun. They have bikiyut also, but bi'iyun, they're learning. And they stayed on one daf for a whole week. One daf. Which is one page. One page for a whole week. Learning this, reviewing again and again. And he's wondering, he says, I was here for 5 years. How many Gimarot did I finish? Finished 2 Gimarot maybe. 2 Gimarot, what's 2 Gimarot? People doing daf yomi finish in 7 years. I've been in 5 years, I don't finish 2? There's a whole entire list of it. When am I ever going to be finished? So he starts saying, maybe I shouldn't do it. Maybe I should just forget all this. Maybe all these type of thoughts. If I can't do everything, there's no point of doing anything. And he says, what's the point of being in yeshiva? So the Chavot Levavot is saying, no, don't think that. You have this, you're doing well. Does that mean you could do everything? You're doing this, do it. Do it. This is also good. You get the schal for what you do. You're not, as we said in Pirkei Avot, says it's not your job to finish everything. It's good you finish everything. That's not your job. It's not what Hashem wants from you. You should do it. So what's the difference? The question is, what is the difference between what we said in last week's parsha, Parshat Emor, and what we say in this week's parsha? What Rav Ephraim Kachlon is saying in his Sefer, or what Chavot Levavot, and even the Gemara, Masechet Eruvin is saying. What's the difference? The difference is, whenever Hashem says, I want it to be perfect, you want to do something that you're not obligated in. You want to do something, I want it to be complete. I told you I want it to be complete, do it complete. Don't do it halfway, half-heart, half everything. I want it to be complete. But the things, in the end, either we can't do it complete, we can't do anything, we're obligated in some type of thing, we're obligated in tefillah. Does not mean that we have to just say, okay, I can't do it complete, I'm never doing it. Hashem is saying, you want to do something extra? Do it complete. You don't want to do it, you don't want to do something extra. If I didn't tell you to do it complete, as we even see from the parasha, the section of the korbanot. Even within it, even though it has to be complete, there's still different variations of it. Hashem says, I want either, it has to be complete. Fine. Either from oxen, sheep, or goats. You have different ways, different things. It could be a big fat cow, or it could be a small goat. It could be, doesn't have to be, it has to be complete, but it could be complete in different ways. So, anytime someone does something, try to do it complete. Try to do it. Does not mean that if you can't, Does that mean that you just give up and say, you know what, I can't do it complete, I'm not doing anything. I'm not doing anything, forget all this. Do it as much as you can, and B'ezrat Hashem, if you do it and try and everything, you don't be Yovel on any avirot. You don't go against any avirot. But you just do as much as you can, as much as you possibly can, and even eventually you will get to that point. You will get to the point that you can do it perfectly, you can do it complete, as Hashem wants it, as Hashem desires it. And through that, B'ezrat Hashem, we won't have this Yetzirah, either Yetzirah of, you know what, do it everything halfway, or do everything, it's either everything or nothing. It's either do it complete, or don't do it at all. We don't want this Yetzirah, we don't want the other Yetzirah. And B'ezrat Hashem, we're going to be saved. Hashem is going to save us from all these Yetzirah. Amen.